fight. If you keep Walker moving like this, you got to dodge the crazy punch.
Oh my gosh! That's Jamal Hill!
Welcome to Kyle Anthony's UFC Betting Show. I am Kyle Anthony, and welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the betting show for UFC on ESPN between Jamal Hill and Thiago Santos. We're going to be talking about two plays. Of course, we're going to be talking about the main event of the evening. And listen, I know this is not a high-level card with starstruck with all these big names. It's definitely not that. But the best part about UFC, like we always say, there's no off seasons, and as well as each card, there's definitely opportunity to place our money in strong position. So excited to break this all down. Last weekend, we basically broke even, 0.4 units, less than half of a unit loss. Did have some crazy stuff going on there, but we did hit on our 4% best bet play, which was on Pantoja. He got the job done for us there. Now 4% best bet plays are 13-5 this year. I've got another 4% best bet play up now for clients. If you're interested, take a look down in the description below, and you'll see my link to my page over at Wager Talk. Take a look. If you're interested to be a client, there is where you do it. And next weekend, I may not be having a show just because I'm going to be going away. I'm actually heading over to Saratoga Springs in Florida with a bunch of people out there. So excited to go out there. And the best part about that is I'll be there for about 5 or 6 nights. And then I come home for a couple days. And then I go out and fly to Vegas for the Wager Talk event on the 19th. And I think that's 19th, 20th. But I'll be there for about 4 nights there. So if you're interested, go out there, we'll chat, we'll talk UFC, but for now, we're going to talk about the main event of the evening this weekend. It is going to be between Jamal Hill and Thiago Santos. Right now, we've got Hill is the favorite at -275. That line is starting to tick up a little bit, as well as Santos on the other side is +225. Like we always do here, we're going to talk about 3 fights for each fighter, see what we see if one fighter can expose the other fighter, and if the line makes sense to place a wager. So the first person we're going to be talking about here is Jamal Hill, and 3 fights ago he fought Paul Craig. Now this was one of those fights where grappler versus striker, how is it going to play out? Hill has looked just dominant in certain spots, knocking guys out, very crafty on the feet, and this was a spot right away that people pretty much were thinking where it was going to be happening. Paul Craig looking for these takedowns, pushing for these takedowns. And the thing that he's so good at doing is pulling guard. I mean, he's actually pretty good at that, where he's able to just kind of latch on, back down, get you into his guard. Right away, you saw how he was submission hunting. And that's something that Paul Craig does, legitimately fight in and fight out. He is always getting crafty on the ground, just looking for a limb, something to latch onto. And right away, he actually was grabbing onto an arm, similar to, kind of how the fight ended, but kind of latching onto the arm. Now, Hill was able to kind of get out of that, kind of did a nice roll, kind of getting out of it. He could have stood up. And that was definitely a bad decision for Hill. He decided to stay in the guard, throwing a couple more shots, felt comfortable on top. It didn't take much longer after that. There was, looked like, he's, pretty much, dislocated his arm, didn't look good there. And then from there, it was more heavy shots coming from Paul Craig. When he had him, it was almost like he was trying to go for a triangle choke, but his arm was already popped out. He was landing big shots. Fight over in the first round. Paul Craig wins via knockout in the first round against Jamal Hill. 2 fights ago, he fought Jimmy Crute. This is another one, too. 2 rising stars coming up. 2 guys that really have power. They've definitely got some ability to kind of move up the ranks. Very well skill set, very well rounded. And this is a spot where Jimmy Crute pretty much, early he's going for those leg kicks. This is something that I think that's going to be happening on Saturday night. Going off of those leg kicks, landing some shots, but I gotta say the one thing about Hill is he has just tremendous countering ability, timing ability. He really utilizes his reach. He's very rangy with his striking, and that's what he did. Yeah, he threw a nice left, kind of a flash knockdown, dropped Crute. It almost looked as if, hey, this could be the end of the fight. He ends up kind of rolling out of it. It didn't take much longer after that, because when they were in another back and forth toe-to-toe throwing strikes, a big right hand drops Crute, puts him down. He throws a big shot on his way down. Hill ends the fight in the first round. A big showing, and it does show that power of Crute. Crute is a tough guy. Crute is a guy that's willing to go in there and bang, and he got dropped twice in the first round. Fight over, knockout victory for Jamal Hill in the first round. And then most recently, Jamal Hill fought Jimmy Walker. Now this was a fight here where right away, Jimmy Walker does what he's doing. He does a lot of crazy shit coming out early in the fight there. Hill was landing, and then Walker wanted to start utilizing some grappling. Get in tight, start to kind of maybe muscle him around a little bit. It didn't really work, and I give credit to Hill. Hill was able to kind of escape, break, get some distance, get some space, and then he started doing a lot of forward pressure. And it was almost as if Walker didn't really get his timing down. He kind of actually looked a little tired pretty quickly after grappling. But Hill started walking him down, landed a big shot, dropped him. It was one of those funny kind of knockdowns that you had where he just kind of fell backwards, but it was a big shot, did knock him out in the first round. So there you have it there. On the other side, that was pretty quick though, because we got a lot of first round finishes. Short show maybe. And then we've got Thiago Santos. 3 fights ago, he fought Alexander Rakic. This was a fight here where you had 2 guys, big, strong guys, a lot of power, big kickboxers. And it was, early on, a lot of leg kicks from both. Both of them kind of, banging around a little bit, the leg kicks. But for the most part, this whole fight took place at range. Standing at range, throwing shots at range, pretty much, a low-paced fight. Both of them playing it pretty safe. It was interesting to see that. Even in big exchanges, they both kind of separated a little bit, reset and kind of, once again, 1 big shot, 2 big shots. They move around, 1 big shot, 2 big shots. And then you did hear even the announcers kind of like, there's not much action here. I mean, you could see Rakic was doing enough, but it was not, Santos was just kind of standing around, he was kind of just looking for the 1 big counter to end the fight. It was an aggressive, lackluster performance from pretty much both of these guys, to be honest with you. Rakic gets that victory, a bad showing for Santos, very inactive in that entire fight. So there you have it there. And then 2 fights ago, he also fought Johnny Walker. Now, MMA math is MMA math, but this is not a very good showing from Santos, where he goes into this fight, both of these guys, I mean, from beginning to end, the same thing. Staying on the outside, throwing a shot once or twice. You heard both corners, throughout this fight saying, you gotta get active, you gotta throw more shots, you gotta get the volume up, push out some output. You could steal these rounds. And I think both of them were kind of saying, these rounds are so close, either one could steal the round by 1 big shot. It came down, I thought, pretty much to that 5th round, and that's where Santos kind of threw some more shots, more active, pushed the pace a little bit, but it was very timid that both of these guys just really weren't pushing it at all. 2 really explosive guys, very lackluster, again, performance from both of them there, but Santos does enough, edges it out on the scorecards. He gets a decision victory over Johnny Walker. And then lastly, he fought Magomed Ankalaev. This guy here, Ankalaev, is definitely moving up the ranks. But the thing about him also is he's kind of a slow-paced, kind of, very comfortable at range, great kickboxing ability, great distance management, good countering ability. And both of them are just kind of comfortable staying at range again. Good showing from him. I think Santos dropped Magomed 1 time, which was he kind of got clipped. Not a massively big shot, but did get clipped. Magomed got back up. But for the most part, both of these guys were being just calculated. They're just being calculated at range, and it's just very awkward to see where Santos has kind of that animal instinct with him has been. But it goes out there in this decision, and he loses against Magomed Ankalaev. So there you have it there. So with that being said, the first thing, and I kind of just was touching on it right there, is Santos is not the same guy. I mean, it's kind of crazy where he's been from, battling John Jones with 1 leg in the first round of a 5-round fight and arguably won that fight against John Jones. Then he has a chance to almost put away Glover Teixeira early in their fight, and then he ends up getting his back taken and he loses. And then these 3 fights happen. And it's just a very different Thiago Santos. And I'm sure everybody's talking about that, saying it's not the same guy, but the killer instinct just isn't there. It's just not there for him. He seems comfortable being at range. He seems comfortable, he doesn't seem comfortable being in toe-to-toe exchanges. It's something that he seems not very interested in. And his aggressiveness. Like, that whole killer instinct, aggressiveness, throwing caution to the wind. Now, I'm not saying he's got to have no caution, at all, where he's just going to go out there and fire crazy. But that's been a big thing with him throughout his career. What it basically got him to fighting John Jones was that. His path was over-aggressive, getting these guys in uncomfortable positions, forcing them to throw shots in tight quarters. He's got massive power. He's looking to land the big shots. You're not seeing that anymore. And that, to me, it could be the injury. It could be, hey, I'm a little bit worried about that. I'm a little bit worried about my injury. He's not throwing it. And on top of that is just the volume of strikes. So it's not just that he doesn't have the killer instinct, where maybe he should just kind of engage a little more, but the volume is way down also. So not only is he's getting walked down, but he also has no output there. And again, the injury could be part of it, but we're not seeing the kicks from him. The kicks were such a massive part of his offense. These body kicks, these leg kicks, these high kicks, everything is with big power. And he just hasn't been able to really kind of get in the mix and fire that. He's unwilling to do that. And, that is just a big issue where you're talking about going up against somebody like Jamal Hill, who has great precision striking, power behind it, has the ability to kind of work at range, will have a 3-inch reach advantage also in this fight. He also fights very long. So there's a lot of things that are really going to hurt him when it comes to this. And the fact that Hill can go out there and put a pace on Thiago Santos, I think, is also another way for him to go out there and find a victory. And there's been points where we've seen Thiago Santos where, maybe a guy kind of starts firing some big shots, or maybe he gets a little tired. We've seen that, and, even in the last fight. This is a 5-round fight we're going to be talking about Saturday night. He fought one recently. He looked very tired, kind of middle through this all. And Hill's going to put a pace on him. Hill's going to look to fire. There's not going to be much places to really kind of, backpedal when you're talking about the smaller apex cage. It's going to help Jamal Hill in a big way. Better footwork, rangier. It starts to really tilt the other way for me here. Obviously, I like Jamal Hill in this spot here. And a big reason also is that he's 5-1 since entering the UFC. His only loss was against Paul Craig. Out of his 5 wins, 4 come by knockout in the first round. He has the power to do it. So for me here also is the fact that, the fight with Johnny Walker is a bad look, man. It's a bad look for Santos. Yes, he got the victory. Very questionable because so many rounds were so close. But you look at what kind of transpired in that fight, that's not going to happen here. There's just no way that I see that Hill is going to pop at range, move, pop, maybe throw a leg kick, move around. Hill knows where he's at. And if you also look at this situation here, you've got Santos is 38. It's not that he looks like a young dude, to be honest with you, but he's getting older too, so he has had a career-changing injury to his leg. He doesn't have the aggressiveness anymore. He's not willing to stand and fire and bang the way that probably someone like Hill is looking to do. The trajectories are different here. I like Jamal Hill. And yes, of course, the line right now is -275, but I like Jamal Hill inside the distance, -145. I think that's a pretty good number here for the most likely way that this is going to end with Jamal Hill going out there and getting this victory. I don't think this is going to be a pitter-patter fight in the small apex cage where you're going to have Santos going to be able to kind of fire a couple shots and stay at range. Hill's going to be walking him down. Hill knows what's at stake here because if he shows up and he really puts on a good performance, this is really going to push him up the ranks. So I like Jamal Hill to go out there and get this victory inside the distance at -145. And my other free play is going to be between Josh Quinlan and Jason Witt. And we've got Quinlan, he's -230. On the other side, we've got Witt, who's +180. Gonna make this one quick here. And the first thing here is this fight is not for the faint of heart, okay? This could either look really good or look like complete shit. But we're gonna play this here because this is a spot that I do like, and I think it's worth a little sprinkle. So when we take a look at this fight here, now the first thing here we're going to look at here is the line's wide, and I think it's wide because Josh Quinlan, who has big power, has been able to show big power, has gone out there and knocked out a bunch of guys on the regional scene. He's shown it. He's got a 100% finish rate. I think he has one submission maybe in there, but 100% finish rate against Jason Witt, who Witt doesn't have a chin. It's pretty obvious. Guy doesn't have a chin. He's not a guy that's really going to be able to stand and trade, and bang in close quarters. And, he could definitely get sparked early. That's definitely no question about that here. Quinlan is more explosive, going to have the big power, better hands, bigger, more pop on his hands. Just kind of overall with his striking, that's going to be big. But the part here that I think kind of shifts you away a little bit from this big line is the first part being is Quinlan was popped for steroids right after Dana White Contender Series victory. He got a big first round knockout victory, looked great, got the big finish, and I think it was under a minute in that first round there. Looks great and all, but it's got to be a red flag getting hit with this at this point in his career, meaning in the fact that a lot of those past wins and these big knockouts and this power, all that happened, probably when he was on steroids. There's a good chance he didn't just do it just for Dana White's Contender Series. He probably has done that for most of his career. Now he's in the UFC. He got checked. He got hit with it, and he basically, I think he basically admitted it. Like, yeah, I was doing steroids. So that to me, it's suspect. Does he have that power still? Is that going to be the same guy that you're going to be getting? Especially if you're looking at a minus 230, and you got a guy that I think this line obviously is off of the fact of when he was on steroids. So that to me already messes with this line to begin with. And the other side of this is Witt. Witt got a victory and had a tough fight against Bryan Barberena. Now, Bryan Barberena is not some big power puncher. He's not some one-punch knockout artist, but he's tough. He's durable. He's going to be in your face. That's why he's been a gatekeeper for so long, is because he can go out there, he'll brawl, he'll bang, he does not care, he'll be in your face, he'll keep going. And it was a tough victory for him, but he went out there and he got the victory. And I think that says something when you're looking at strength of schedule. Quinlan is just nowhere near that. Even Philip Rowe, who recently that Witt lost to, Rowe is a solid fighter all around to begin with also. And I think also the advantages of the Apex cage. I think the Apex cage, the smaller cage, is going to help the wrestling of Jason Witt. And I think that is going to be his absolute path here. I think the smaller cage is going to help him here. I think he's going to look to push and get Quinlan's back up against the fence. We could look for these takedowns. Now, again, coming in, cutting distance, could he get hit with a big shot? Of course he could, but I think he can go out there and grab and get a hold, get top control, keep that pressure on, and win on the scorecards. I think he can kind of start to do that here. And again, if you're looking at this, you've got a guy who's making his UFC debut and just got caught with steroids last September. Who knows what's happened at this point here? That to me, this is a dog or pass situation here for me. So I do like Jason Witt plus 180. I think this line is too wide. It's dog or pass completely. And again, he could get knocked out early, but I really think that Witt can go out there, put a pace, get on him, wrestle him, make it ugly, and go out there and get this victory here. So I do like Jason Witt as my other free play. So those are my free plays for UFC on ESPN this Saturday night. Excited about it. And if you want to become a client, link down in the description. And this is Kyle Anthony's UFC Betting Show. And I'll see you next time.